minute, guys. So what did we actually decide to do?
We're going to leverage our core competencies to drive alignment across stakeholders.
Right. Yeah. Okay. But what does that mean? Like, are we doing the thing or are we not doing the thing?
We're moving the needle toward a more synergistic outcome.
Amber, are we doing the thing? Are we doing anything?
We're circling back after we socialize it with leadership.
Oh my God. Okay. So I've been employed here for 11 years now, and I have never once known, what are we doing? What have we decided? Oh. Hey. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Holly, and this is Amber. And I probably should have said that this is Sanity pending podcast. I'm just like ready to get into it, Amber. I don't know what it is. This topic has really got me kind of riled up. We're talking about workplace buzzwords today, guys. And, you know, Amber, I know that you've already done a lot of reading on this topic, and I really like the angle that we're taking this because, you know, by the time these workplaces invent these terms for things, everybody's already been living with the effects of this for months or even years. You know, it's when something becomes so widespread, though, that I guess they feel like, oh, well, we've got to give it a proper term, something that we can put in our workbook here or whatever. So like burnout or quiet quitting or whatever it is. And I think what you and I find so interesting is, and actually maybe frustrating is a better word for it, is that it's more popular to name something than it is to solve the issue. You know what I mean? Like, Amber, give me your thoughts.
Yes, 100%. And in most cases, when you name something, and I think we've even mentioned it in a coaching conversation on a previous episode, where when you can name something, then it gives you power over the event for you to be able to process through it, right? Yeah. Except when it comes to buzzwords. Yeah. So these workplace buzzwords, when they get a name, then they somehow lose their power because then they become so pervasive within the environment that it loses its definition, it loses its power, it becomes so spread thin and in a lot of cases annoying. We're talking specifically today about like these buzzwords, not necessarily the phrases, because that's a whole other topic. So let's just also make clear that we're talking about particular words that reference events that are currently happening and not the phrases. Because that's, again, a whole other. But
they do kind of go hand in hand, but the buzzwords themselves, I think you're right. Like once it gets that label, then like the urgency to solve the problem is like it evaporates because it's like, well, it's got a name. I think, Amber, you called it like an autopsy. And that makes me like visualize this whole like, you know, employee with the toe tag on, like this employee was burned out, done. Like we did it. Like what? Like that's not solving anything. I wouldn't even call that. Like, that's not even progress, Amber. Like, we've done nothing other than, like, have fun and give it a kitschy little name. And I'm like, the heck?
Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what's happening right now. And that, and I like the way that it's, like, becomes a trendy term. Oh my God. Yes. Is a shortcut.
Like fashionable or something.
Yes. And so, like, So fun fact here. I'm going to tell you the history of buzzword because it actually has a connection to what we're talking about. Ooh. And so the phrase or the word was coined in 1946, right? Okay. And it at Harvard, I believe, some Ivy League school, right? And so think of the small. I was going to say
that tracks.
Yeah, right.
Remember that tracks.
And it was a slang. Buzzword was a slang term. Yeah. And it was used to describe the key words. So if you were just kind of like reviewing a document and you wanted to make it look like you read the whole thing, what you would do is you would pull out keywords that made it look like you read the whole thing when you really didn't. So it made it to where you were passing off that you knew what was going on when you didn't.
Oh my God.
And so, so think of how applicable that is, that in this case, the reason why when it gets coined as a buzzword and starts getting used profusely, it's because nobody actually knows what it means.
Oh my God, Amber, I'm thinking of all the people we worked with who would do that. They pass themselves off as experts by overly using certain terms. Like they're more informed than they really are. Do you know what I mean? I can like visualize these individuals in my head.
And apparently it's happening in all of these like smart people places too. So think of, I actually do really kind of see some overlap between institutions and workplaces, right? Like
for sure.
Around particular topics that people like, you're either learning or, because you're still learning at work, right? And so you are enhancing your knowledge, and there is this idea of keeping up and being a star student, a star pupil or whatever, right? But in either the topic, the subject, whatever it might look like within your workplace and the institution, this idea that you are relevant can be determined by the words that you're using. And if you are hip with the cool kids, right? As Austin Powers, right?
Is that an Austin?
Yes,
I'm
Dr.
like
Evil.
out of it today.
I'm hip. I'm cool. Being profesh, you might want to know what these buzzwords actually mean.
Yeah, definitely. Like, so is there a buzzword that like really grates on your nerves, Amber? Is there one that you really, truly hate?
Psychological safety.
Oh, tell me why.
I think it's just the way that it was overused to hide behind my feelings are hurt. I am psychologically unsafe.
Oh, interesting.
It got used so often to reflect that somebody was unhappy with something. The point is that it is an important thing, but when it gets overused or misused, right? Being unhappy does not necessarily reflect psychological, like lack of psychological safety. That's just being unhappy. So the misuse of the term really was grating on me. And just like people would misuse AI as this very general, and there's specificity to these terms that are, maybe it's really anything that is misused. I get like, do you know what you're saying? Do you know what you're using? And the prevalence for how often it is used, and then starts adopting situations that it was never intended for, like the psychological safety one. So I think that's the one for me. What about you?
Yeah. Honestly, I know this may not be, I liked yours because like once you started saying it, I'm like, that does annoy me too. Like it, and I hadn't thought about it, but that one definitely. I think for me, it was honestly burnout. Like I just thought like burnout was overused in a way that was not, again, we weren't making progress to address it. And like we would constantly hear employees talking about being overwhelmed, being exhausted, all of these things. And we would even hear leaders in meetings say, yes, we recognize this thing. And I was guilty of this too in the beginning, of hearing them say things like, oh, they said the word, they said burnout. That means they're aware of it. They're going to address it. Like we're getting somewhere. And then like, we would get, I don't know, like a month in, 2 months in or something, and we'd hear a catchy slogan, like make sure to take time for self-care. And I think what people don't realize is like that was intentional because it shifts responsibility from leaders, from the company, to employees need to take ownership of this. Like we need to start addressing employee behaviors, not the real part, which are these organizational failures, right? These structures and systems that are already in place that are the cause for being overwhelmed. There's not enough proper staffing, whatever it might be. So yeah, like burnout was like a big one for me because I constantly felt burnt out and I constantly heard people talk about it, but nothing was ever done to actually address it. And I think that was like really, really frustrating for me,
Yeah, it just offered a label for people, like a banner label.
A banner is a really great one. Yeah.
Where people could assign themselves, that's me. That's me. And feel represented, even though they're not being represented. They just became a word that you can now add to your buzzword bingo card. And
exactly. I'm in the club now.
Playing. I'm in the club now. Like anybody else experiencing burnout? Yeah. Right. And it just becomes a club phrase
no interest in actually, like, it seems like when we get these committees together and like they're doing a thing, like the primary focus is always like, well, let's call it something. Like, we know there's an issue, we should call it something. It's easier for us to address it if we have a name for it. But then, like, again, we got the name, now what? But that's when it always like fizzles out, because the fun part is done. Now we've got to get into the root cause and start addressing things. And that always, I don't know, like, I think the shortcut that a lot of people look for, and I hinted at it, like kind of trying to address employee behaviors, is like, and like burnout is a good one, because I saw people say, like, do and say things like, oh, well, that person, like when somebody would claim to be burnt out, they're like, that's an individual problem because that person's not organized. They don't know how to time manage. And then like, oh, let's offer a training for these, these things. And it's like, great, like time management training, that can be valuable. Is that going to fix burnout? No.
I have a list here that I want to kind of talk about, that there's the cycle of when words enter the workforce, kind of what happens to them. And there's different ways that there's different paths that they can take, and different things that can happen. And there's 4 of them. And the first one is called the legitimacy trap. It's when something gets its name and it feels like with that name that there's an assumption that it's been handled. It's a legitimate concern. It's it's now a legitimized word that equals productivity. There's an assumption, right? That as employees who are experiencing this, oh, there's a word for it. Oh, that means that there's solutions attached to legitimacy of the word, right?
That actually, the legitimacy, that makes me think of like, we recognize this is here, but this is a permanent thing. We can't get rid of it. And it's like, that's what I think when I hear you say that. It makes me think like, we recognize that this is just the way it is. And now we have to figure out, how do we live with it? Like, we can't get rid of it. So how do we live with it? And that kind of enrages me. Sorry. Okay. Proceed while I do my breast training over here.
You like accurately and perfectly described why it's called a trap. Is because this is where the trap part comes in, is just what you described. It could then, maybe it says, we're aware of burnout being an issue. Yeah. And it confuses awareness as action.
Right.
Saying that we're aware of this thing is now we are falsely expressing that we understand that it's an issue. And by saying awareness, understanding, it assumes that there's solutions behind it. It assumes that there's work, or and there's an urgency to resolving it. And that's where it becomes a trap, is that our understanding, like as an employee, we're hearing this and we're like, oh, this is where I was talking about at the beginning, where when you can name something and it gives it power, that power is what is legitimate, right? Like there's a legitimate, there's been a psychology study or something, like there's a reason and studies and science or research that backs this term, which then equals we're going to do something about it. And that's where the trap is that awareness is not action.
Yeah, right. Yes, exactly. Yes.
And then nothing changes. It becomes a word, right? So that's one way that people like react to buzzwords, right? And so then there's the second one, is the individuation problem. And so before the word exists, right, the experience feels like a collective already. Like, is everybody else feeling bullied?
Right.
Burned out, right? Whatever. And then after it exists, right? So when it doesn't exist and you can share with your coworkers what you're experiencing and putting your own words to it, then it becomes, this is systemic. This is part of our environment, right? Which then places that blame and that lens to what's happening on the culture or what's going on around them. But then what happens is that when the word gets created, then it gets attached to individuals rather than where it got
exactly, like the slogan thing that's always like, like do your self-care. It's like, well, wait a minute, like I don't have time to focus on this because of these other things, but that's a you problem. That's not a we problem and a company problem. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. And so using burnout as this example, it's like, you don't have a broken workplace, you have burnout, and then it becomes your problem to solve.
Yeah.
Right.
And better time management, better yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so it takes that pressure and burden off of the actual originating source. And then there's the co-option cycle. Okay. And so then once the word burnout, let's use that one again, enters the mainstream language, then the system that caused the problem gets to use the word too. So you can have leaders, HR, right? People in authority saying, we're going to take burnout seriously right. And then as that language and as that word moves from it being this, kind of collective, like if we're using the same example as before, it's something that people are talking about expressing what's happening with their feelings, their emotions, their true events of what's happening in the workplace. Then once that word gets formed and then the organization can use that word too, it then removes accountability. Because then now the people who are responsible then can turn around and say, well, I'm also burned out. And then it just keeps passing the buck. So the co-option cycle would be that they weren't talking in circles together to have, coined the term. Then the workers who are experiencing it the most are needing the most support with these things that they're experiencing. Now the term gets created as a result of these experiences and now becomes available for everybody to use, which then it now is no longer something that's just isolated. It becomes an everybody problem.
Yeah.
And an everybody problem, I think, what's that phrase? If everything's an emergency, nothing gets done, or I'm going to mess that up.
I don't know the phrase you're referring to.
Anyway, it points to the fact that if you have competing priorities, then you have no priorities, right? So it kind of gets lost in the shuffle of everything else then. And then very similar to that is the normalization effect, right? Which is naming something then just makes it a category, and categories feel permanent and expected.
Yeah.
And then it gets like kind of called, that's just burnout culture. And instead of it being a door that could open to solutions and creating ways of resolving what's happening, it then now just becomes, burnout's just a thing. And I have actually heard that. I have seen this in play where people just accept that the type, like, I'm just going to be burned out. Like this is my burnout season. Like there's so much that's going on. I'm not going to be able to get it all done. I'm just going to be burned out for these few months. Right. And I'm just going to have to deal with it. And then it becomes an expectation.
Right.
So,
yeah. And like, I hate that because again, like that for sure, like this is like when you have new people coming into the workforce too, and you have these, older individuals or seasoned employees, whatever you want to call them, but like these individuals who have experienced this and like have never received the support they needed to like, have a healthier work-life balance. Sorry for the buzzword, but like a healthier like balance there, then they're the ones who are, mentoring these younger junior employees. And they're like, that's just the way it's always been. Cause that was told to me. I had older colleagues who just kind of basically were like, yeah, like, look at my calendar. This is like normal. Like we're all doing this. And it's like, but like, don't you see that as a problem? And then this is, again, me putting a lot of responsibility on leaders and companies as a whole to like, take ownership of this. I know that there are leaders, I've had leaders who are like wanting to push everything down to the lowest level possible because they want to, they think that the change that will be made will be more impactful for the people who are experiencing those things. The problem is you've just given me one more thing I've got to do. And that makes me mad. I'm angry now. Like, don't do that to me. Like, I need you to lead us out of this and be the one who is the change leader here. Like, I just don't put one more thing on my plate. Are you kidding me?
No, I do see that. Just because I have an idea, don't make me responsible for making that idea happen, because now all you're teaching me is to not ever speak up.
Yes.
And is that what you want?
I've been that person too. You learn the hard way. Good workers
you learn the hard way.
Punished with more stuff.
Correct.
More work.
And I feel this is a slippery slope that's of the same. If you say something, then it's going to be like, well, then you need to tell us what needs to happen. So for you to not do anything,
right? Like, what is your role here? What are you doing?
What are you doing? And you want me to come up with the idea for you to do because you somehow feel like it gives autonomy and agency. Agency is the word, right? Like that it gives me a voice in what's happening. Yet by the time that it gets up to something happening, then somebody else has had an opinion about it and somebody else has had an opinion about it. And then it never actually gets touched on the thing where it started.
Yeah. And I love how you threw autonomy in there because like that is one, like I have I have been like a person who has been on the sideline saying we want more autonomy, right? Like quit like looking over our shoulders, quit like with these RTO policies. And I love how like the fact that you brought it up, because it's true, people will turn that around on you, like that, like use it against you. And it like irritates me to no end too. So yeah, dang, wow.
Really unfortunate and sad to have that assumption, but that's honestly the assumption that when I left the work, it doesn't matter what you're experiencing or what you're going through, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, we want it to change, but we want to see our leaders take charge. And because not taking charge, like, removes it from us. Like, yes, that's like one part of it, but like you taking charge shows me you care. Like that I'm not just employee 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that I'm not like that I'm valuable. And like, you want to nurture my talents. You want me to, produce my best work by ensuring that I'm in an environment that is healthy, that's conducive to me doing the best work that I can. I don't know. That really bothers me. And I don't want to be like all feeling schmealings and stuff, because I know there are a lot of people who are like, keep your feelings out of it, right? Like you're at work. Right? Like, have you had this where people are like, work doesn't like, nobody cares about your feelings here, but we're spending 10 hours a day at work. You know what I mean? I spend more time here than I do at home. I want to feel good when I'm here. Feeling schmealings. I know. I can tell you can't get off of it. Like I've lost you. Let's move on. Is it game time yet?
Our game is called Guess the Buzzword. And I have 6 origin stories to share with you.
Okay.
And what you're going to do is guess the buzzword that was generated as a result of this is the origin story behind the buzzword, right?
I'm excited for this. Yeah.
Yeah. And so let's see if you can guess. And for those of you listening at home, play along, see if you can guess them too. Okay. So a psychologist in the 1970s was watching volunteers at a free clinic. People who chose to be there, right, completely collapsed emotionally and physically from overwork. Ooh. He needed a word for what he was watching happen to them. What is that word?
Emotionally and physically. That sounds like burnout to me.
It is.
Dang. Whoa. Man, I did so bad on the last game. I'm glad I got something right.
Yeah. Oh, girl, I think you're going to do really well in this one, though. Yeah. So just know that burnout has been around since the 1970s. I don't know when it became in our vernacular in terms of a workplace, right? But just know that the term burnout originated from him trying to explain this scenario in this situation. And it was 1970s.
That feels like a perfect excuse to say, like, this is a permanent thing. And like, that's something we have to work around, not like address. You know what I mean? Because it's been around since the 70s. It's permanent. It's not going anywhere. Okay.
Here's a more recent one. Okay.
Ooh,
so in 2022, a 24-year-old posted a TikTok saying he'd stop letting his job consume his entire identity. He wasn't quitting. He was just doing his job and going home. What is the buzzword?
Quiet. That sounds like quiet quitting. I didn't realize quiet quitting was only from 2022. What?
Yeah. It's a recent one.
Wow. Okay, I've got to say 4 years, like it feels like we've lived a lifetime in 4 years. Right? Holy cow.
But
yes.
These are also the difference, too, that I want to point out that in between these two origin stories is that this 24-year-old, so meaning that this term came from somebody who's in the trenches.
Yeah.
And then came out.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of these terms, like it's applied in other settings and then placed within this kind of scenario. So there's an external force that somebody is pulling from to grapple with finding the term. So like burnout came from another environment, a research environment, and then got applied to the workforce. Quiet quitting came from inside and then became a popular term. You were doing great. Let's see if you can get this one. Oh, that sounded threatening. I know, that sounded threatening. That wasn't meant to be threatening. You're doing great. I think you'll continue to do great. A guy built an empire, well, hold on, blah, 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 blah. The word is entire, not empire. I read that wrong. A guy built an entire personal brand in the mid 2010s, telling people sleep was for the weak and your 9 to 5 was killing your dreams. It was a content strategy dressed up as a life philosophy. What is the buzzword?
Huh. Oh man, this one's hard. First thing that comes to my mind is like this hustle culture type thing. Is it really? Oh my God. I didn't think that was it at all. Oh my God. Wow.
Good job.
Dang.
Yeah.
Okay.
You should do that. You should keep doing. Just go with what the first thing you thought of. But that's exactly what it is.
Wow.
Sleep is for the weak. You got to just keep moving,
grinding,
right?
Because
grinding.
Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. Wow. Holy cow.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Sleep is for the weak. Get out of here. I love sleep.
Same. Okay. All right. Here's an oldie, and let's see if you can get right.
Okay.
In 1944. There was a movie about a husband who secretly dims the lights in his house and then convinces his wife she's imagining it. The whole film is about a man methodically making a woman doubt her perception of reality. Psychologists eventually borrowed the title to describe a specific and serious form of emotional manipulation.
Oh.
What is the buzzword?
Amber, that makes me so angry. That's gaslighting. Hundo P. I do not like that. What? Makes me so angry. I feel like very triggered by that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
There's a movie about it first in 1944. Then it was coined so it didn't even start as a research topic. Yeah. It started as a movie idea.
Wow.
And so it's kind of like a term that it must have been happening somewhere.
Right.
In the home, like relationships.
Yes.
Like for it to be, and then it came out into a psychology term, which then came out as a buzzword for the workplace. Okay, so we have 2 more to go. In the 1970s, therapists started using this word to help people who had grown up in chaotic or abusive environments understand that they were allowed to protect themselves, that they could say no, that their needs were real and worth defending. Oh. What is the buzzword?
Sounds like psychological safety.
You're so close. Boundaries.
Yeah. Boundaries. Oh, I love that. The safety thing, kind of like protect yourself. Yeah. Like really, that I see that now. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. But I can completely understand where psychological safety came up. Like I think that I probably would have guessed that first too before boundaries. But
I feel like boundaries is definitely something you do like when you don't feel psychologically safe. Then you start applying those boundaries for sure. So I love that. Like we've gone past
solution.
This.
Yeah.
Solution. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Okay, so then the last one. It started as a technical term in engineering and telecommunications, describing the literal capacity of a system to carry information, a hard, measurable limit. You either had enough or you didn't, and the data told you so. What is the buzzword? Hint, I use it a lot.
Yeah, like it makes me think of like capacity, just like you're at capacity or whatever.
Close. Yeah. What's another way to say that? Yeah, what's another way to say that?
God, I wish I had my thesaurus with me.
Comes with like an internet kind of
bandwidth.
Yes. Good job.
I could totally see that, like coming from the tech side of things. I could totally see that now. Oh man, History 101 with Amber is so much fun. I love it. Dang, I want this on audiobook.
Well, it was very fun for me to explore these topics because I definitely got really excited about researching these stories because I do love history. And I'm glad that I was able to actually use my history degrees.
I'm so jealous.
This is why I love context and understanding so much is because like I really like to understand how things happened in the past to be able to apply its applicability to today if that exists. Sometimes it doesn't exist. Sometimes there isn't a way to connect. Sometimes things just reside in the past and then there are new things. But I loved this topic for the way that we are pulling from everything around us to try and make sense of our world. Yeah. And a majority of them came from psychologists who are seeing a lot of the struggles. So it makes sense that a lot of these are coming from psychology terms. And also the way that they are being researched or even understood. So I do love, but I also love they came from pop culture or social media, or they either came from the ground up or top down. Like they all these words are, to me, ways that we are trying to make sense of what's happening around us. And then once we get past trying to make sense of what's happening to us, then how can we resolve?
Yeah. Like, what do we do about it, Amber? Like,
how can we feel better?
Yeah. Like, and I know that there's, a solution applied at an individual level is going to be different than like tackling an organizational structure. Those systems that are within the company that are maybe like the direct cause or certainly making some of these things boil over. But like at an individual level, like what can we do about it? Like we're like, okay, we've got a name for it. And like, I'm still feeling this way, right? Like giving it a name didn't make me feel better. It didn't make me feel what I want to feel. Like, what do we do? You know?
So one of the techniques in coaching is that when terms are used, I may have an understanding as the coach on the receiving end of the experience to know what that term means, but I don't necessarily know what it means to that individual. So a way that we as coaches get to that is we simply ask, what does that mean to you? And then you get the better context of how that person is using that term and using. So I feel like from an individual perspective, it's really getting in touch with the language that you're using and defining what those terms mean to you. So instead of just hearing a buzzword, hearing it all around you, right? Being provided a definition, right, of what that word means and understanding what that means to you. How does it look to you? Because maybe it doesn't apply to you.
Right.
And maybe it's about just wanting to feel a part of what everybody else is. So there's a lot of exploration around who you want to be at work, how you want to be seen, how you want to be identified, and what language that you're using to describe yourself. So if you don't want to be seen as somebody who is burned out, that's really maybe not the best way to say it, is like not how you want to be seen. Like maybe you are connected to some of the symptoms that burnout is, but you're just like, I really hate that term. I don't want to be like, I'm an individual. I don't want to be kind of lumped in as a collective to everybody that's kind of experiencing this. I want to maintain my individuality. Then lay out what burnout looks like to you. Don't use the term. Specify. Be specific and clear with yourself what behaviors that you're doing and what are those effects that you're feeling as a result. Make it yours and make it yours by your experience, not the term that is kind of getting lumped in. So I do feel like this, like perform an autopsy on the word for yourself and what your relationship is to that, because I guarantee you, if you come and you bring these buzzwords to a coaching session, 100% of coaches are going to ask you what that means to you, because that's what we do for everything, to try and understand how you are seeing the world.
Oof, man. Who knew? Like, honestly, when we were talking about buzzwords as an episode, Amber, I thought it was going to be hilarious. I thought I was going to be laughing the whole time. And like, I swear, as with a lot of topics that we cover, and maybe it's like our experiences and like our past work experiences. Sometimes it like brings up things and I'm like, that's not funny. Like, and I'm like, but some of those stories, like the buzzword origin stories, those were very humorous. Man, I'm curious what other buzzwords people hear in their work settings. Like, what are some other ones? Those we've definitely heard. We've heard those together in our work setting. But like,
my gosh, yes.
I want to know other ones. Like, what else is floating around out there?
And right now, I've only got the ones that I've researched on my brain. So, my brain is not working today very well without.
After this episode, honestly, Amber, I think we need a hard reboot, like a hard shut it down, turn it back on. Like, what's the solution? Isn't it always turn it off, turn it back on? Anyway, I'm gonna need a complete reboot here.
Complete reboot, right? So if for anybody who doesn't know or are not aware of how unscripted our podcast is, I think that this is the evidence to show you how unscripted we are. Like, we might set ourselves, like we have a skit or whatever, and then of course I read the prompts from the game, but then everything else, like oh man. So sometimes we also face the inevitable
yeah, I know. Today is one of those days for sure.
I think we surprise ourselves sometimes, like with the emotions that we hold around a lot of these topics, and and the way that we would get through it is kind of laugh about it. And so even though none of these terms of what's happening to individuals is funny, but it is relatable. And though we have those checks and balances that kind of keep us from going to those lengths and to those great ends, I still imagine that if I were to have stayed and cracked, I would be Angry Agnes. Angry Amber would really be what it is. I don't know why I changed my name to Agnes in this.
I don't know. I like Amber better.
I would just wear like muumuus and house slippers and just push my cart around and just have people
glorious. I love that.
And just be mumbling or singing to myself and not really engaging with anybody. But I'm just like on the roll. So I'm somehow like another caricature of the red stapler guy, where they would just move me to places and I'm just Angry Amber.
Bring him up though, Amber. Like, that's, again, can we just like talk about the fact that we're always bringing up arson in the podcast? We do not endorse that. But that is like another common theme that continues to show up. Anyway.
Everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
Right? See how many memes? I like that game, right? Like how many memes can you stack on? And to me, it's similar to like how many buzzwords can you say? Because except memes are actually telling a lot. Memes tell more than a buzzword does, in my opinion. Whereas buzzwords may become empty and make you sound like you know what's going on. A meme really lets you clock in that you understand what's happening. Because if you share the wrong,
relatable.
They are. And if you share the wrong meme, somebody's like, that meme doesn't make sense. Why did you share that? Like, that's not, no. And then you know if people can kind of understand, and you're just like, you don't understand.
Yeah, true. Like, you're in or you're not. Like, you're in the club or you're not in the club. Yes.
In the club. All right, so all this talk of memes makes me think of our subreddit, and y'all, we got a Sanity Pending podcast subreddit going, where we are offering some of these questions and hard-hitting questions, and maybe ones that we think of after the episode, and the games that we play, and we're bringing it to our break room on our subreddit. So join us there, and also we just share memes in general, workplace memes, or memes about like losing your brain, like when words don't make sense anymore. Like, I feel like we're gonna share one of those because that's so very relatable stuff happening. We also have a Substack, and on our Substack you can subscribe as a free or a paid member, and we got some real fun goodies if you sign up as a paid member. And then we also have a merch shop open, and so I know, right? So you can find, if you want to share with your workplace, right, that you are listening to this fine establishment of a podcast, you can now tote around lots of goodies, and just hang on to your hats. Hang on to your seats, your butts, whatever, however that phrase goes.
I wasn't going to interrupt. I was like, I'll just let her go.
I don't even know what the phrase is. Anyway, hang on to whatever it is you want to hang on to, because we are constantly adding new stuff as we explore all the fun ways that we can bring our Sanity Pending thoughts to you and your life.
Yes.
So
Get your flair.
Excited. Get your flair. That's right.
Get your flair.
Get your pieces of flair. And and YouTube, obviously. So we are in a lot of really fun and cool places, and we are excited to continue to bring you these. Hope you've enjoyed this episode. This is Sanity Pending Podcast. I am Amber, and this is Holly. And remember, if you have not thought about or actually throat punched punch someone in the throat this week, then it's been a great week. Like, maybe you have to just do it slow.
Next time, slow mode. Slow mode activated.